Welcome to There Will Be Expletives. I'm Jeff.
I'm Ron.
And we were recording at 1 a.m. because Ron didn't do his fucking homework.
I tried.
And actually get Arkham Knight done ahead of time. So I was over here watching Ron die in Arkham Knight for about 3 hours.
In my defense, you said I had about an hour of the main story left.
If you actually knew how to play the game and didn't fucking die every time.
It was worth it. You know it was worth it.
Yeah, it was pretty entertaining. Ron's at like the end of the game was like, if you push this button and this button, you get an automatic takedown. Like, what? What? And I was both saddened by this and facepalmed a little bit. I was also impressed. I was like, bravo, I don't even know how you beat the fucking game without knowing that.
It's like you being, what is it, a link between two worlds and not knowing about red fairies?
Yeah. I had no fucking clue till like the last boss fight where I was like, dude, this is really fucking hard. And then I looked up, I was like, yeah, you can totally revive yourself like multiple times. And I was like, well, that would have been good to know 25 hours ago. But I digress. But yeah, we are going to be doing our Arkham Knight review. We're going to save that till the end of the podcast because we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review for the first half of it. And then if you aren't finished with the game, we're going to do a spoiler-heavy one at the very end of the podcast. So we'll tell you when to shut it off.
Yeah, and then it'll be at the end of the episode, so when we get to the spoiler part, if you haven't got there yet, you can just stop the episode altogether. You don't have to try to jump around and accidentally jump into the big spoiler or something.
Blah, blah, blah is Arkham Knight. And then, that would not be fun. But, we're going to start off with some movie news, and the first movie news for the week was Chris Pine and Zachary Quinto, who play Captain Kirk and Spock, respectively, are officially signed on for Star Trek 4, and...
Which, thank God, it wouldn't be much of a movie of that.
Now, the interesting thing was, they officially signed on those two for Star Trek 4, but they didn't greenlight 4 yet.
Right.
What they did was, they got their contract set up to where, if 3 is successful, which why wouldn't it be? Those movies have been... I mean, we like them a lot. A lot of people don't like the second one, but...
Well, even people that have hated them so far, they're still going.
Yeah, both of them have been really successfully.
Star Trek fans, Star Wars fans, comic book fans, they're all the same. Like, yeah, that movie's gonna be fucking garbage, and then they're there opening day to see it. So, I mean, it's gonna make the money.
Yeah, and then the third one is the first one without J.J. Abrams attached to it, but they made some cool choice. Idris Elba's gonna be the villain. That's an awesome choice.
Yeah, it is.
That's gonna be awesome.
But, also another reason why it's going to make bank is just because until Star Wars comes out, there's really nothing else happening as far as like space adventure movies or anything. There's really nothing else until Star Wars in December. Give it some competition. We're going back to the Star Trek versus Star Wars days, dude.
Well, man, if Jurassic World made $200 million, like, friggin' opening weekend, like... That episode
There's
7,
no verses to it.
Yeah, Star Wars Episode 7, when...
It's just going to pick up Star Trek over its head and throw it off the balcony on the Death Star.
Pretty much, because like, when they can, throw... Because, Comic-Con is about to come up, and they're actually going to be at Comic-Con.
Which we reported earlier, they're not. And then, 2 days later, the press release saying that Star Wars is going? Dicks.
Yeah. Just to screw with us. But yeah, all they got to do... is throw out a freaking trailer with like Luke and Leia. There's another 30 million,
I'm curious. I like how we started on Star Trek. Now we're talking about Star Wars. I am curious what they're going to do because they have had tailored trailers for each event so far. The Star Wars Celebration was the Chewie We're Home and stuff like that. I'm curious if we're going to have new stuff or it's just...
It's going to be new stuff.
They're going to have. I know they're going to have some new stuff, but like how much new stuff in the trailer they're going to show?
They're probably not going to still do real heavy plot detailed out trailers.
No, and J.J. Abrams not going to know shit.
Even like the last trailers for his movies usually don't tell you much.
Yeah,
so, but yeah,
which I appreciate.
Me too. I wish more directors were like that. But then they also, part of the news story was Star Trek Beyond is going to be the name of the third one, which we were joking, like maybe they're big Terry McGinnis fans. Because that's the first thing I think when I hear Beyond is Batman Beyond. But, it's an interesting choice for the name. They, they've said and been on record saying, we're going to have new species, we're going to have new planets, because a lot of people did not like how the second movie is pretty much a remake of, one of the original movies. I'm sure everyone's seen it by now, but I still don't want to spoil who the villain is, just in case you haven't watched it. But yeah, they're trying to go out of their way to make it a little more original. And I think, isn't it Simon Pegg is actually one of the writers now on it, and that's a real good choice. I love Simon Pegg.
I think he's Has he not been involved as far as writing goes in the other ones too?
No, I don't believe so, because the people in the original two were the Transformers guys, right? So it was like Orty and Kurtzman, I think are their names. I think they were the guys, and Lindelof, I think, helped write one of them. But yeah, I believe, I could be wrong.
So he's got creative input?
I believe this is the first time he's had creative input into the script, because...
So he goes on a rant about science fiction and what it does to people's brains, and then he writes a science fiction.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Yeah, okay.
It's Simon. No one's going to give Simon Pegg shit. It's fucking Shaun of the Dead, dude. No one's going to give him shit. But in other movie news, we have... Man, this movie's never getting fucking made. The movie for Uncharted has lost its director, and what was his name? Seth Gordon, I believe was his name.
Yeah, I have it up, I thought. Yeah, right here. Yeah, Seth Gordon, and he's pretty much only known for the first Horrible Bosses and like a wedding comedy. He had like 3 comedies and then a What the Hell Is This movie in his repertoire, and that was pretty much it. So he was pretty much a no-name director, which had the movie been successful would have been a great breakout for him. But honestly, like you and I were talking before we started recording, it may be a good thing if this movie doesn't happen at this point, because it sounds like it's just shaky ground all the way around.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard, but there was some other kind of like tidbits coming out about this movie, to where it was being reported and rumored. I don't know how much fact was in this, but Sony, the studio, was pushing this, and it was...
For those who've never heard of Sony, the studio.
Shut up. I'm going to finish my thought, ass. The studio was thinking of this as like their next Indiana Jones and wanting to push a huge budget for it. The Sony chief of operations type guy was looking at it like Resident Evil, and these were the examples used in the article I read, to where most people are really wanting to push this, and he's like still looking at it like most of those executives are, like a video game movie. Like they used to look at comic movie. This is horseshit, and we're just going to put it out there with a $60 million budget, and then we're just going to make money back because of the name.
Right.
They're not actually. He's not like, he doesn't look at it with the same respect that it deserves, because you've seen those Uncharted 4, E3 trailers. It's a those movie. Games are movies, and they're better than 95% of the movies out there. So it deserves to have a good budget sent forward. So
it has a really interesting main character too.
Yeah, and also Sully, the side character. He's really, really cool. And we were talking before off mic. What I think needs to happen is Warcraft needs to happen. It needs to be a critical and financial success. And I think both of those things have to happen for any of these Uncharted type things or BioShock, anything like that, to get off the ground running. Because the other studios are going to have to see one hit and make bank back, and then not be looked at like a piece of shit.
It doesn't help too that, video game movies are largely failures because they are looked at as a video game movie. I mean, like Wing Commander, very few people even remember that movie exists, and just things like that. And, when you look at the cast, well, I mean, they're not that big now or anything, but at the time they kind of were, and it's just like there was no reason why that movie had to be shit. And it's just people are like, like comic book movies back in the day, like, well, this is something that, you shouldn't take very seriously anyway, so why take it very seriously when you make it?
Yeah, like what needs to happen is what happened to the comic book movies to get them, out of that perception was X-Men. That was the first one to both be critically not shat on and made bank.
Yeah.
That needs to happen. The probable first choice that's going to happen is Warcraft, because that has a huge-ass budget going behind it. They have a talented director. We don't know how it's going to go. I think it might be kind of hard to adapt.
Well, not so much. I mean, I laughed when I first heard the Warcraft movie announced, because I was like, oh, here we go. But, after what I've seen that they've done when we had those first images released, and we heard who all's been attached to it, it seems like they're taking it pretty seriously, and there's a lot to the mythos there, and there's a lot of lore, and you can do basically anything you want. It's not a game that is like the Uncharted games say, don't leave a lot of room if you're going to base it actually on the story in the game, because which I think is a mistake for games like that, because it's a very linear game. You start at point A and you move through to point B. World of Warcraft, it's open world, it's open everything, you do whatever the fuck you want.
Story, you kind of fill in the blank sometimes.
Yeah, so you can literally just you're basically just taking the concept and you make a World of Warcraft movie. You're just taking the concept of World of Warcraft and pinning a script that fits into the lore. There's just one more thing to add to the lore to it. So I think anything like they've been talking for years about, a Zelda screenplay, and then they talked about like a Netflix series, and all that has always fallen through. And Zelda is always the one that I've used as my example because of how long it is, how intricate it is, how the lore fits in. The only way something like that's going to be successful is if you just write an original script, original story, put it up on screen, and then let the game follow that. And I think that unless we have someone do something very successful first in the video game world with like World of Warcraft, and then someone comes along and creatively does something like Uncharted that is linear, that's the only way something like that based on the story of the game is going to be successful. If whatever that next big video game movie is that's supposed to be a hit fails, then I think they'll have to fall back to taking the concept of something and writing an original story and letting the game follow. Because right now, everyone just tries to cram like a 60-hour game into a 2-hour movie, or an entire world of comic books back in the day into an hour-and-a-half movie, and it just doesn't work. That's why a lot of that stuff fails, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really hoping that Warcraft movie is a success, because we need that same respect that follows comic book movies now to be with video game movies, because there is a gold mine.
Oh yeah.
Once they are, smart enough to realize that things like The Last of Us are better than, 95% of the movies I've seen the past 10 years.
Yeah.
That, it's just waiting there, sitting.
And more original.
Yeah.
It's just like one more thing to add to the zombie list, but it also stands out out on its own.
The most original, cool take on what causes the zombie infection.
Yes.
It's very fucking cool, and the monsters look incredible, and seeing that in a movie would be amazing. I mean, it's one of those things to where once it clicks, we're going to be sick of video game movies like we're getting to the superhero movies, because they're going to go and they're going to mine the fuck out of
especially
everything.
Since, like, Hollywood doesn't have original ideas anymore.
No, other than Christopher Nolan's the only person that makes an original movie ever.
For fuck's sake, dude. They are, like, remaking movies that were based on books to begin with at this point. Like, it's just, basically the only thing that is untapped that they have not converted into a movie is, like, music. Like, let's take a fucking song, like, let's take Father of Mine by Everclear and turn it into a fucking movie. Yeah. Like, that's the only thing that has not happened. I have no idea why that was the first song that came to my mind.
You could have picked a worse song, so. But we've got some superhero movie news to move to, and that is Ron's favorite topic, Batfleck. Hooray! But the news,
sad Batman.
Your undying hatred for poor Ben Affleck. Well, the movie news for Batman was that it is rumored now for a 2019 release of the first solo Batfleck movie, tentatively titled The Batman.
Which sounds interesting already to me. Which
makes sense, because fucking duh, they're going to make a solo Batman movie. Because that is the only character they've ever been able to make gigantic financial returns on.
It doesn't even need to hinge on the success of anything. No. That character is already successful enough, and
Carrot Top could be Batman. It's going to make $400 million instead of $1 billion.
Exactly. And, the great thing is we're entering into a world now where we're finally getting to post-origin stories. They've already said, like, in Spider-Man, there's going to be no origin story. Batman, we're having no origin story. He's been Batman for years. Spider-Man's already Spider-Man. So things, in my opinion, are really looking up, because lately, I mean, every time we go into like a Batman movie, we always start out with like
45 minutes minimum on the origin.
Yeah. Like, just shoot them already and fast forward 20 years, please. So, we're already getting into really the Batman everyone thinks of, kind of mid to late 30s to 40s.
Fully established, knows his shit,
And, knows what he's doing, what he's up to.
And is in the same universe, finally, as Superman.
Yes.
Which means Batman is more the Batman we know. Because
whole world of possibilities.
Because Batman, the way we've seen him before, like, the Dark Knight Nolan Batman couldn't even take on Bane.
Yeah.
And wasn't the smartest guy in the room.
Well, I mean, he couldn't even take on crime, really. So
yeah, that's a real sad Batman. But yeah, I mean, I think who knows if the movies are going to be good or not? But this is the closest we've got.
It won't matter. They're still going to crank them out.
Oh well, yeah. Just for money they will. But I'm talking about like just automatically. This is the closest we've gotten to comic Batman.
Yes,
because in order for Batman to be able to take on Superman, he has to be one of the smartest people on the planet, which is what he's always meant to be.
And if you're going to put him in the Justice League immediately following this, then you already are going to have to establish that he's the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
Because that's his role usually in Justice League anyway. I mean, yeah, he's fucking Batman, and he's always bailing out their asses every once in a while, but always every once in a while. That's what happens, folks, when you record a podcast at 1 fucking a.m. But was I? Oh, yeah, Batman. So my shirt,
Batman,
the Batman. Yeah, no. Okay. So if you're gonna put him in Justice League, well, we've had this discussion before. The thing about Justice League is, why do you need them if you have Superman realistically in real world? You don't need Flash because Superman's faster than a speeding bullet. You don't need any of them really. Superman can just walk into a room and fight's over. So Batman of all people is usually not needed unless he's saving Superman's ass, or he's the smartest guy in the room and he's just taking everyone down mentally and figuring out shit and figuring out what they need to do. So they're going to have to establish that, because in the movies haven't really ever established that.
Not at all.
He's the world's greatest detective,
which has never been done before.
Yeah.
He has like 2 or 3 detective crime scene type things that happen in the Nolan movies, and that's the closest they've ever gotten, really.
They allude to it in every movie, but they just kind of leave that to imagination, and it's usually like a montage scene. Like in the Nolan movies, it's a montage scene. And when they do it, it's, well, he's Batman, so if he's going to do detective work, he has to do it in a very Batman way, so let's have him reassemble shattered bullet pieces digitally to get a fingerprint off of it, and he was analyzing, like, shooting bullets into bricks different ways and stuff like that, when really most of the time it's him in front of his computer just pecking away at the keyboard. He's fucking Googling his detective stuff more than anything. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, because they're going to have to establish detective work somewhat in this. They're going to have to show him doing something.
He has to be the world's greatest detective to take on Superman, because he has to be able to isolate how I can fight this.
How do you fight a god?
Because they've established in Man of Steel that the Kryptonians move like Dark Knight Returns style, where they're like, they're so fast you don't even see them move. It's not like the Justice League cartoon where Superman's like flying, like it's like the Flash, like, so he has to be able to figure out how to take on that guy.
Yeah, head on.
So yeah, who knows if these movies will be any good or not. It was also, with this news article, starting the whole, well, is Ben Affleck going to be the director of it, because that's what he's been doing as of late.
That was rumors even when he was first announced as Batman, that following this at some point he would be directing his own.
So it might depend on how much he likes, the process of being Batman.
Yeah.
And how much confidence he has in himself to be able to be Batman and direct. Because it's one thing when you're directing and starring in, like, The Town or Argo. It's a little bit different when it's a big budget type movie going on.
Another thing that's going to be interesting is to see how he treats the character. Like, Nolan, as far as I know, is the only other person besides Kevin Conroy to treat the character as he's Batman and his disguise is the tuxedo as Bruce Wayne. All the other approaches has always been Bruce Wayne and putting on a mask to become Batman. So it'd also be interesting to see how they treat him, because even in the trailers, it kind of looks like he's treating it as the guy is always Batman and can never switch it off. You know, I kind of get that feel from the trailers.
He's Ben Affleck's. It's been reported mostly by Kevin Smith, who is one of his best friends, for quite a long time,
and probably the world's biggest Batman fan.
And he has said that Ben Affleck is obsessed with that character.
Yeah.
So it's cool to finally have the guy being Batman aware of the character, because Christian Bale had never fucking read a comic before he did it. He's an art house actor,
Mm-hmm.
So coming from Ben Affleck,
and nothing wrong with that. It just makes it.
It was
awkward going into the role.
It was like Andrew Garfield with Spider-Man. Like he was aware of what he was getting into, and was really familiar with the characters and be portraying. So yeah, I can't wait. The movie, there's a decent chance it's not going to be good because they're going to be rushing so many things.
It's better than decent.
I really want it to be good.
We had 5-6 movies leading up to Avengers, getting origin stories out of the way, establishing characters. We're doing that all with cameos in Batman v Superman.
Yeah, which it totally works for Batman because we all know the origin. It's when it comes in, and even the Flash is pretty well known now because of the show.
And in their defense, we did get Superman's new rebooted origin out of the way.
So really, the problems are Wonder Woman and Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
And if they end up doing Aquaman as like a villain, maybe then they can do it then. But it all depends on how they do it.
It's been theorized that the official synopsis for that movie alludes to Aquaman being the villain.
Yeah, we'll have to. So they're going to be at Comic-Con. We'll probably know a lot more as of 2 weeks from now.
I think we're going to get a lot more. I really fucking hope though that they don't do the movie studio thing of like, here is going to be the villain of the movie, and then you get into the movie and it's supposed to be a total fucking shocking surprise that there's a villain,
and they've spoiled it 9 months ahead of time.
That's why I said I respect Nolan and J.J. Abrams, because most of the time they're the only ones that do very vague trailers and you don't know what you're getting into till you go see it.
Which so far they've actually been more on the vague side, because that the Batman v Superman trailer we have shows you hardly anything.
It was a cool trailer.
Yeah, you get a little bit of how they're going to be going into the public hate Superman, is terrified of him. That's really the only plot element you get out of it, other than Batman finally has a cool voice changer. That's the only other plot element.
I really hope that's not just in the suit, though.
Yeah, I hope.
Well, let me clarify. In the anti-Superman suit.
Hey, even if the movie sucks, that part's going to be awesome.
It is.
We're going to get 15 minutes of Zack Snyder action of them whooping each other's ass.
I know. I'm going to go ahead and go on record as saying, which you know this, Jeff, that I am very Batman and very anti-Superman, and I am very depressed that we're not going to get to see him actually just cream the hell out of Superman, because that sounded totally different in my head. To beat the fuck out of Superman, because you can't polarize the people watching the movie that way. So it's going to end in a draw one way or another.
And they're going to fight
midway. They're going to fight as equals.
They're going to fight midway through the movie. It's going to end in a draw, and then they're going to team up. That's what's going to happen. That's what's always going to happen. They can't really play it any other way. That's why
you can't pull like in Dark Knight Returns when he literally just beats the fuck out of Superman, and Superman never stood a chance. Like you're gonna have to make it end in a draw some way.
And it's also going to be a little bit different in this movie, because part of what makes that fight the way it is and how he is whooping Superman's ass is, yes, he's Batman, but Superman also doesn't want to hurt him because they're friends.
Yeah.
They have no relationship now.
But that was in Dark Knight Returns. They're just meeting in this movie.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
And this Superman has more human-like qualities, which I do appreciate about him. Like the truck driver, and he comes out and all the timber is like skewering his truck.
But I was saying, like, that does put them on... The Dark Knight Returns storyline, since they're friends, puts them on a more even playing field because Superman isn't really wanting to hurt him. Since they have no relationship, he doesn't give a shit about Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
He's just going to be going after him, so...
And I'm really curious... I just thought of something else they're going to have to establish. So they're going to have to establish Batman as the smartest guy in the room. But though, like I mentioned earlier, and it just occurred to me to tie this in, why the fuck do you need anyone else in the Justice League, right? Because Superman in real life would be all you would ever fucking need. Batman has to be a member of the Justice League. So, and Batman is always renownedly thought of basically as just Superman and Batman are the two biggest names on the Justice League. So it's going to be one hell of a fight, and they're going to establish Batman can fucking whoop Superman at any time that he wishes to be able to elevate him in the Justice League movie that you see him in that light.
Or at least just be able to go toe-to-toe. That's the main thing.
So I think we're going to see some pretty impressive stuff out of Batman in that.
Bare minimum, we have never seen Batman action done before by an action director. Because Tim Burton is Tim Burton. Christopher Nolan is an art house film director.
Yeah.
The biggest complaint about the Nolan movies is the action is not shot very well because he's not an action guy.
No.
So, bare minimum, Batman v Superman might suck, but we're going to get some good action out of it.
One thing, though, that I don't want to include before we move on, because I know we've been looking at the clock as we've been talking about this, but it's fucking Batman. I'm in a Batman shirt, for God's sake, right now.
There will be Batman.
There will be Batman. Is the Nolan movies... One thing that was really cool is, have you ever paid attention to the way Batman fights and what little of it you can see? They brought in... I really wish I used to know the name of the martial arts. There's a martial arts style that's known by very few people on the planet. And
I think I remember seeing it's like where it's very elbow influence. I think I remember seeing the special feature about it.
Yeah,
too.
and they I think that's where I got this. And they brought in one of those instructors to coach Christian Bale, and they couldn't actually teach him because you have to go through all this shit to be taught it. But they actually coached him a lot in that way. And since very few people know it, very few people have ever seen it. So since you've seen it, it looks like a totally different fighting style that you've never seen before, which would be very Batman. And that's one of the reasons why they did that, is because Batman, they always felt like, Christopher Nolan said, he always felt like Batman would have his own unique fighting style because he is what he is, and he always takes the best of what he can find and integrates it.
Yeah, so, he's a master of every martial arts, so he can do a combination of everything at any point. So it becomes just him.
It gave that feel to the way Batman was fighting in the movies.
Which was shot really well, and if you remember in Dark Knight, has really, really good hand-to-hand combat scenes, and which is funny, because when they needed to have that, when he's fighting Bane and Rises, all the action choreography was terrible.
It was gone.
It was awful.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, it almost felt like they had half the time.
I mean, we could devote a whole podcast to Dark Knight Rises,
which we're not going to,
and tearing it apart.
Yeah,
we should do a commentary on it sometime, though. But
I don't know if we have enough recording space for the expletives.
I think my hard drive's not big enough. But there's so much wrong with that movie. But I mean, Nolan was more or less on record of he didn't even want to make that movie before he made that movie. So
the only reason that movie existed and
was the studio
was because Dark Knight is one of the top 2 or 3 biggest grossing movies of all time, and they were like, "No, Christopher Nolan, we're going to come and fucking set your house on fire if you don't come back to make this movie."
I hope Ben Affleck and everyone else knows that huge Batman fans are going to be comparing every step of the way to Batman Begins, because at least in my opinion, that's the most Batman movie that was ever made so far.
It's the most Batman-centric movie that's ever happened. I still think if you just go, like, what's the best film?
Yeah.
I think you could probably make an argument that Dark Knight is just an overall better, movie, but definitely Begins just as far as Batman.
Yeah.
That's the because there's actually like a statistic ran of all of the Schumacher and Burton movies, and in every movie the villain had more screen time than Batman.
Well, it's not even that. I feel like his costume looked the most like what you expect Batman to look like. I feel like his equipment was the most, and it was more equipment centric than any of the other Batman movies. I felt like
the cinematography is also more comic-y.
Yeah,
Dark Knight and Rises like much more like a crime movie.
Yeah.
Begins has a lot more, which is very, I mean, I guess part of it is story.
The music was also a lot more Batman to it. That was one thing that was always kind of off to me in Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. It was great music. Hans Zimmer. I know he was in Dark Knight. I don't think he was in Rises, was he? Was it Zimmer?
I believe it was Zimmer the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Batman Begins of that trilogy had the most Batman music to it too. I just felt like, as far as if you just look at only the live action Batman movies, it's the best Batman movie that was made. It's not the best movie that has Batman in it, but I feel like it's the best Batman movie made because it focuses the most on him, focuses the most aspects about him and his equipment and stuff like that. And that's one of the things that makes Batman too. And we lose the equipment a lot in Dark Knight,
which I think,
and there's next to none in Rises.
I think, he doesn't even. It's like you're fighting Bane.
Yeah.
Who is
pull out everything you have.
He
Bane without a tank. There's no hose to cut.
He tries some of the subterfuge techniques and everything, and it makes sense, he's League of Shadows as well, so he can't use that. But
the moment I knew that Nolan gave up on that movie was in the final fight when Batman goes head to head with Bane. There's no fucking way. He always has to outsmart Bane. He can't go head to head with Bane.
Oh no, he spent 3 months doing crunches in that cave. He's fine. He's fine. But yeah, we've been talking about this for too long. We need to move on.
It's Terminator Genesis all over again.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about this topic for 2 minutes, and then 22 minutes later.
We actually have the Batman thing that's already come out to talk about. But yeah, the next superhero movie news to come out was...
There's no transition. We're just like, fuck it, we're moving on.
Guardians of the Galaxy 2 has a title, and it's freaking sweet, and it is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Perfect.
How freaking perfect. And again, back to John Bernthal as Punisher, that is so freaking obvious.
It went right over our
freaking head. And like, only Marvel, man.
Yeah.
Marvel...
that's probably James Gunn.
It's so obvious, but so perfect. And
I guarantee you that was James Gunn.
Bless you, Marvel. If you haven't seen Guardians of the Galaxy, correct us now. It's awesome.
Yes.
Go enjoy it. I believe it is slated for 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe that's right.
So,
and they
freaking wait.
They said when they first talked about it too, they're going to... I don't know how much they're going to focus on it, but they're going to get into Star-Lord's dad a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Because they alluded to that at the end of spoilers, at the end of the first one. If you haven't seen it, go see it. They allude to his father at the end of the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they said if they made it, at that time they said if they made a sequel, they're going to allude to that. And then, like, that following week, they're like, yeah, there's a sequel because it made a ton of fucking... Actually, they announced the sequel before the movie came out, didn't they? I think that was one of them. That's becoming a trend now. I think that was one of the first ones.
I don't remember because I want to
It was either opening weekend or before.
I don't think it was before because they honestly didn't expect it to make the money that it did. Because it ended up being one of the highest grossing movies of the year.
It feels like Marvel said fuck it with this movie. And it was great.
Like, what it was them like, oh, you're going to see this just because it has that Marvel at the beginning,
I saw it for fucking Rocket Raccoon, dude.
It's like...
Bradley Cooper is a raccoon that curses, drinks, and shoots guns? Sign me the fuck up.
I want to watch that movie again now. That'd be a good comment. Well, actually, we'd just be laughing the whole time. It's probably a terrible commentary. But yeah, speaking of Marvel, we actually have some TV news, a couple TV news articles.
Speaking of John Bernthal.
Yeah. Oh, Daredevil Season 2.
I cannot wait.
I need you in my life. But we have some news to relate to that, in that the co-showrunner, what was his name? I believe you have the article up somewhere.
Yeah, I'm not keeping up with that. I'm failing at my job.
Yeah.
It's 1 o'clock in the morning. Fuck you.
He basically was on record saying that he's viewing Daredevil Season 2 as Daredevil versus Punisher.
Marco Ramirez.
Okay. He has been on record as saying he's viewing it as they're, kind of going head to head, which we don't really have any plot details. That's been, the most details we've really gotten. We don't know to what capacity he's going to be a villain / anti-hero. How many villains are we going to have? They haven't confirmed Bullseye yet. They haven't officially confirmed Elektra either. All we have so far is that both Daredevil and Punisher are going to be in it. So you have an interesting take on this. You basically think it's going to be kind of...
I think it's going to be hero and anti-hero. I think because I don't think they're... I think it's going to be versus Punisher, like he said, but I don't think it's going to be like Batman versus Superman style versus. I think it's going to be more as we already know, we've known for a long time they're trying to get Bullseye and Elektra in. So what I think it is they're going to add some kind of backstory to Punisher, why he's chasing one or both of these, and it's going to draw him into the city. And I think they're both going to be pursuing the same targets, chasing down the same leads.
And they're kind of butting heads as they do.
And they're going to butt heads every once in a while. I don't think it's going to be every episode. I think it's going to focus on Matt Murdock a lot like it did the first one. And maybe... every couple episodes, we're going to run into John Bernthal, and when they do, they're going to have one hell of a fight.
Oh, I can't. Those fight scene guys doing Daredevil and Punisher, possibly.
And I feel like the Punisher side of the fight is going to be more weapon-centric and brawler-type fight, and Matt Murdock's going to be leaping around like fucking Yoda a lot, and it's going to be fucking fantastic. But I think it's going to be... They said... that according to Nerdist, according to Marco Ramirez, in this article we're looking at, that it's going to be more of a philosophical battle, and I think it's going to be the way they're going about their investigations.
They're also going to want to spin him off into his own show.
Yeah.
Because it's Marvel, and they want everything up there, either on TV, on Netflix, or in a movie theater.
Feige said, this is back when it was, if we ever did Punisher... we'd probably spin him off into his own show. And now we know that if we were looking at Punisher, which we are, then we would probably want to spin him off in his own show. And I hope that is rated R Netflix MCU, like we're getting with Daredevil, which it would have to be. But your dream team, Jeff... we now have Spider-Man in the MCU, and Daredevil and Punisher are all in the MCU.
Oh, man, if they could cameo Spidey in with those, oh, my God.
I'm telling you, there's a chance. It's not a big chance, but there's a chance.
I don't know if I'm capable of talking anymore. I'm too excited.
This is the episode where Jeff just blows his mind.
In another Marvel TV news, we had some S.H.I.E.L.D. news actually pop up, and that was that... Secret Warriors is going to be a heavy influence on Season 3, and I'm actually failing at my job because I'm supposed to be the comics expert, and I am actually totally unfucking familiar with Secret Warriors.
S.H.I.E.L.D. has been doing an excellent fucking job of just delving into the obscure, and
really recent stuff. Like Secret Warriors, I was looking at it more. I'm familiar with the comic storyline that it's from, but it was 5 or 6 years ago, so that's really, really recent to be pulling from. So it's an interesting storyline, though. In the comics, it was a superpowered team ran by Fury, which means that's going to be ran by Coulson now. That's the way they're going to adapt it to S.H.I.E.L.D. And one of the team members was, I guess we're doing some S.H.I.E.L.D. spoilers, Quake, who we now know is Skye from the show.
Yeah.
So those were the two parallels when you compare the comics to it, but Marvel's always done a good job of taking the really, really famous comic storylines and adapting it to where it's kind of the same flavor as the comic storyline, but a different take on...
But it's its own thing.
Yeah, it's its own thing. You don't know point for point what's going to happen, or even, how it's going to work. So, S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, is continuing the trend of being really good.
As I say, that's the thing that worries me and same as Daredevil too, also. Because 2 and also aren't the same word. Fuck you, Jeff.
He's got the most just smart ass look I could possibly give you.
Can they keep the ball rolling the way it has been? Because Season 1 of S.H.I.E.L.D., first half, I could completely live without.
You don't even have to. You can watch. I recommend if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if you're just now starting,
Just start at Winter
watch
Soldier.
the pilot, so you at least know who the hell the people are.
That way you get your flying car in, your dose of flying car.
And then skip to like episode 13, 14, whatever the hell it was.
I mean, the first half felt more like Get Smart than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.,
but
to be
not
honest.
in a good way.
Not in a good way.
Yeah.
And I mean classic Get Smart.
I have more faith in the Daredevil guys because Daredevil didn't have a bad episode. S.H.I.E.L.D. has about 20 to its name.
It didn't have a bad episode, but...
What you talking about my Daredevil?
No, I'm just saying...
You tread lightly, motherfucker.
At the same time, it was more of an experiment, too, so they could have just gone all out. And I'm really worried about this in Flash, too, where it just go all out, throw every idea we have into it.
I totally agree with you on the Flash, because exactly what they did with Arrow.
Yeah,
with Arrow, they threw every plot line they could possibly think of. They killed off half the characters.
It worked
and now
with
it's
Flash.
terrible.
It worked with Flash. It was terrible with Arrow.
Well, no, it worked with Arrow up until season 3. So now we have to really be concerned about Flash happening.
But what
the same
I'm
way.
referring to with Flash, though, is how they kind of Scooby-Dooed it, and we had a different villain of the week kind of thing. And we've gone through like most of the villains in the repertoire now, it feels like, and except Mirror Master, which I feel like is going to be a big one. But I just feel like with these shows, it's like, come on, please keep them going, keep the steam up and keep it going.
Yeah, I do. The ones that scare me the most are Arrow's already dead to us because it just became so terrible.
If the first half of season 4 sucks, I'm just dropping Arrow.
I am probably going to do the same, which makes me so sad because that was one of my favorite shows.
Season 2, man,
it's so good. But yeah, that's another podcast. That's just R.I.P. Arrow. But yeah, Flash scares me. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of scares me because
season 2 was so strong, especially compared to season 1.
And it we were talking they really haven't had a bad episode since the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
they had better episodes and not as up to par, but it was never bad.
But they were still good.
It was still very, very watchable. And I guess we'll find out. That's a cool storyline to pull from though, because switching out Coulson for Fury totally works. Yeah, and they'll have more Quake and. We'll see. Didn't it start in the end of September?
September 29th.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And let's see what else we have in the agenda for the TV news. Was we have our first images, or it was just a single image released from Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Not the fucking 100 selfies from Independence Day.
What the fuck was their problem?
And then we had pictures of them taking the selfies. So it's like, why didn't the guy just taking the picture of them taking the selfies take the picture of them? I don't understand.
Also, it's Independence Day.
It's like Jeff Goldblum and his fucking selfie stick and the crew.
It's like if you're one of those new young actors on Star Wars Episode 7, yes, selfie away. I have no problem with that.
They said they'll end up dead in a ditch somewhere if it's at the light of day.
Yeah, JJ slitting their throat in their sleep. But yeah, dude, it's Independence Day. We're so off topic. We were talking about Evil Dead, and this is near and dear to my heart because the Evil Dead series is one of my all-time favorite series.
I've only ever seen the second one.
And that breaks my heart because I think you're really, really going to like Army of Darkness because Army of Darkness is the really goofy one. I think you'll like that.
Right
one.
Up my alley.
It's total
of my stupid fucking movies and my B-list movies.
It's the type of B-list movie that knows exactly what it is.
It's funny because it's like they're B movies with like the A++ like fanfare.
Yeah. We gotta definitely. Get you to watch Army of Darkness, but yeah, this is the.
I just love this guy on the left. It's just like, dude, is your arm a motherfucking chainsaw? Like the look on his face.
Which did it say what channel this is going to be on? I want to say
I thought it was
I want to say it was Showtime.
I was thinking it was Stars.
It could be Stars. It's one of those non-HBO Stars. Okay, you said that was so much vitriol that you had beaten me.
Stars, motherfucker.
But yeah. Does it have
insulted you to your face more tonight than I
Yeah, well, I don't even know I don't know why I do a podcast with you. I don't know why I'm friends with you.
Drops mic, walks out of room.
Your words hurt so bad. But have they even announced when this is coming out? I have not honestly researched this that much, but I'm really excited for the show.
I'm so excited. I just totally fucking ignored it.
I just don't know when it comes out or if it's still a thing. But yeah, the most important thing was they got freaking Bruce Campbell back. Because Evil Dead without Bruce Campbell, I mean, a lot of people really like that remake. I do not like the remake at all. I was just not a fan of the way that they readapted it. It had... Do you know how every person in a horror movie has to be a dumb shit just for the movie to work?
Oh, dude, the Game of Thronesing it. It's going to be 10 episodes.
Oh, nice. So maybe they'll be using that budget, really, really heavily.
But then you'll probably have to wait 9 months for the next one.
Maybe by that time, the next Game of Thrones season will be out, though, so I have something to,
Yeah, hopefully they're not out together.
That we need kind of something to look forward to in the downtime. But yeah, so you saw the second one. I'm assuming you liked it.
Yeah, no, I love
it's
that.
It's so fucking out there, but you can't help but love Bruce Campbell in that B movie role. Ash is one of the all-time cult characters.
Well, I swear to God, though, the guy on front and center, you've got Ash, blood covered with a bloody chainsaw arm, and then the guy to his right on the left side of the photo is looking at him like, dude, you got a chainsaw for an arm? And this girl over here is looking at him like, oh my God, that's Bruce Campbell. I've seen that cat on Twitter. I'm pretty sure he was in Evil Dead.
I cannot wait. Yeah, you definitely got to watch Army of Darkness by the time the show comes out, because that's another curious thing about the show that I don't think they've said, like what exactly the tone's going to be.
Yeah.
Because what you had in Evil Dead 1, it's more straight up horror. Evil Dead 2 is horror comedy.
Didn't you tell me one time that it's basically like a remake of the first one, but comedy?
Oh yeah, it's like the plot line is basically the same movie as the first one.
I didn't detect much plot in the second one.
Well, yeah. But and then the third one is total just B movie goofiness.
Can I just say, without editing it out of the podcast, that my dog just got so bored of listening to us, he just fucking left.
Well, he lasted longer than the listeners did, so that's a good sign.
He just looked at me like I'm out, bruh, and he was just gone.
I hope they do kind of a combination between Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness, and have it be horror comedy, but with that splash of total B movie that's in Army of Darkness.
I don't think you could have Bruce Campbell in something and not have it comedy centric somehow.
Yeah. It depends on how.
I mean, especially after the roles he's taken post Evil Dead and stuff, in video games and in like Burn Notice and stuff. I just his image is now the funny guy and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. I got to figure out how to watch it though. I don't have stars.
All right, and we've got one more news article, and that is, speaking of dead, we have a Game of Thrones actress basically saying that character that we all think, is he dead? Is he coming back? We don't really know, but should we spoiler tag it and talk about it a little bit? Or
if
just
people have listened to our previous episodes, we've already spoiled it for them anyway.
Yeah, so spoilers for the most recent season finale of Game of Thrones, but
if you haven't watched, just stop listening right now and go watch it.
Yeah, no kidding. It's freaking... My mind's still blown. It was like, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I still can't wrap my head around
Is that all it was? Is that all it was 3 weeks ago?
We record so many mediocre podcasts that I lose track of when the shit happened. But Emilia Clarke, the actress who is Khaleesi, was the first person attached with the show to not say, oh no, he's dead.
She is so fucking lucky that she is Khaleesi, because otherwise... she would be dead in the next episode.
Only she could pull that off without immediately being killed in the scripts they're writing currently. But yeah, everyone attached with the show has said, he's dead. You guys are wasting your time speculating. He's freaking dead. He's not coming back. Yep. She's been the first person like, oh, I think it's 50-50, which I thought was hilarious because they've all been so adamant on talking it up like that. And she's like, oh, I think it's 50-50. He's coming back. Or, I think she said he's got a lot of options going for him to bring him back even. She even said that, so I don't know.
So, if she was not who she was in that show and did not have the fanfare that she has, she'd be dead in the first episode of the next season.
Yeah. So my heart says, please bring him back. I just
Right,
don't.
she'd be eaten by fucking Charizard in the first episode. Of
I totally killed that dragon forever for you.
You did. If you listen to our commentary, it wasn't the commentary, right, that you pointed out he's Charizard? Yeah, well, it was.
Season finale. I think it was the commentary. Yeah, he's so Charizard. All right, and I think that was our last news article for the week. So
that was it.
And now we are going to start our review of Arkham Knight, which, if you haven't played Arkham Knight, I mean, oh my god.
Why?
The biggest game release.
Even I played it when it came out the day it came out.
Yeah, we are so freaking behind. We're like, you haven't even finished The Last of Us, which came out in 2013. So
you're never gonna let me live
until you
down.
beat the goddamn video game, then I'll let you live it down. But yeah, we're gonna start off with a spoiler-free discussion, so you can listen to the first half of this.
And hopefully we'll remember to warn you before we transition.
Looking at you, Ron. All right, first impressions. Oh my god,
gorgeous!
It is. I mean, okay. One of the biggest problems, I think, with people reacting to the current gen with PS4 and Xbox One is that people were saying, are the graphics, going to be good enough to justify me paying $400 for a new system? And when you look at what they're able to accomplish with the graphics in this game...
If it's the only game you're interested in on the next gen stuff, get it.
The graphics are freaking mind-blowing. And they have so much crap being rendered, because then you say it's all rendered in real time. Like
rendered in real time. Even the cinematics are rendered in real time.
No loading screens ever, which is just mind-blowing when you think of how big that city is, because it's, like 3 islands?
Yeah, it's all of Gotham City divided into 3 different islands.
I mean, just we're scrolling through some screenshots, and we're just still we've already beaten the game, but we're just still in awe. Just when you just look at some of the stills they're able to capture.
That is a badass screenshot of him walking away from the Batmobile.
Kind of want to go play the game.
I know.
Why are we recording?
That should have been our first Let's Play. Fuck Star Wars. We should have done Batman. We already spent half this podcast talking about him as it was, and now we're talking about him again.
Yeah. So the graphics were amazing. You know, you talked about some of the performances. I think it is the best Kevin Conroy performance I've seen.
I'll agree with that.
Because, I mean...
Well, in the games, the way the story and everything is set up, and the fact that it is geared for adult gamers also, really lets... Kevin Conroy has a lot of respect for Batman, and he has said in interviews, like with Kevin Smith and stuff, that he feels a true connection because of his family background growing up and stuff to Bruce Wayne. And he was really kind of the first person to take Batman that was not comic Batman, but when Batman the Animated Series started, he was really the first person in that kind of world to take Batman as Batman and his disguise as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, he was actually the very first person to ever use a different voice.
Yes,
which now everyone it's common.
Where are they? Yeah,
yeah. He used, and I always loved his Bruce Wayne voice because he makes Bruce Wayne sound like a dipshit.
Yes.
I love that because it totally makes sense because he needs to sound like that for you not to immediately think, oh, that guy's got a shit ton of money.
Oh, he is the richest guy in Gotham.
You know, and he is, the 6'3" white dude,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but he just did it beautifully and, not even just Kevin Conroy, but, well, I guess we can't talk about everyone because we start talking some spoilers, but John Noble as the Scarecrow.
Oh my god.
And if you don't know who John Noble is, he was Boromir and Faramir's dad on Lord of the Rings. It's probably his most famous movie role.
Yeah, and then is it Fringe?
Fringe, yeah, he plays one of the
I always want to say Warehouse 13, but it's Fringe.
He was awesome in that. He's basically one of those actors to where no matter how awful the movie or TV show he's in is, he's amazing in every line.
I already
delivery.
fell in love with his voice as it was because I watch a lot of Science Channel. And he had a show in there called Dark Matters, Twisted But True. And he's the host and narrator of that. So he's talking the entire episode. And
what a great voice.
Since that show centers around the dark side of science, his voice was perfect for that. And speaking about dark side of science, he's the fucking Scarecrow I mean, come on.
And the coolest Scarecrow has ever been in anything.
I mean, you already know if you pay attention to video games at all, this is not a spoiler in any way because every trailer had something to do with Scarecrow being the villain of the game. But one thing I really have to hand it to Rocksteady for is Scarecrow is usually used as a side villain in a lot of things.
Like in Begins.
Yeah, Batman Begins.
He's a supporting character.
Yeah, and he was a side quest in Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, and it was a lot of just rinse and repeat with his levels and stuff, being the hallucination levels.
Which were cool, but...
Yeah, they were cool concepts, but, it's just like, okay, I did this before last game, and this one, he's the man. Like, he fucking owns Gotham.
And every freaking line of dialogue... Because he's talking to you the whole time because they feed in the radio that he's hearing, and John Noble as Scarecrow is constantly every few minutes popping up and talking shit to Batman pretty much, and every freaking line that guy delivers is pure gold.
Yeah, not even just what he says, like it doesn't have to be even a good line, but the way he delivers it. He knows how to deliver lines. And then we had, is it Jonathan Banks?
Yes.
I told you I was going to forget that before.
Mike Ehrmantraut.
Yeah. When I first heard him as Commissioner Gordon, I was like, his voice is too old for Commissioner Gordon, I feel like. But it fucking works, man.
And he's an incredible actor too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't seen Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, also stop listening to us and go watch those shows.
I don't know how much voice work he's done, but I mean, he sounded as natural doing voice work as Kevin Conroy does doing voice work. So, I mean, the performances in this game were movie level, impressive. But yeah, and then we finally got the Batmobile, dude.
I need to take a moment. Okay, I can't believe people were actually being bitchy about the Batmobile. I'm just going to say that. Like, a lot of people are being really... It's like, I had so much fun. I mean, just driving that thing around and destroying half the city myself, it was just entertaining on its own because everything's destructible. But I had a lot of fun just dicking around, driving around Gotham City, which was the first time we ever had to do that in these games.
Gameplay-wise... I thought it was the perfect mix of car and no car, and then there's places where you can remotely control the Batmobile. So there's places where you're doing both in a level. You'll have to like open doors and then take remote control of it and move it around. And
a lot of Batmobile centric puzzle solving going on
and stuff like that. But I thought it was a good blend of everything. But yeah, people online are really nailing this game.
Imagine that the internet didn't fucking like something,
right?
Thought it was totally unjustified. People bitching about the controls. It's awkward to control for about 20 minutes till you get used to it. So just before you get on the internet and tweet about how awful it is, why don't you just get used to the game?
Let's be honest. The first time you see that cityscape when the game starts and it blows your mind, because it is really pushing the limits of the Xbone and the PS4 graphically. Like, it is like just beautiful to look at. First thing you and I did was get in the Batmobile and just drive around and look at the fucking city.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're going to get used to it before you ever start using it anyway.
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of ridiculous.
I don't know.
It's like, I mean, they gave you a freaking Batmobile and you get to blow shit up with auto-locking missiles and stuff. It's like, it's so much fun. And then I really don't understand why they went out of their way to shit on it, because I mean, yeah, it is a little awkward to control at first, but if you just play it and get used to it, you wouldn't be bitching about it.
Now, you want to talk about Batmobile controls? What pissed me off was after I'd already beat the game, because I beat the game just tonight before we recorded, and Jeff was watching me, and I was looking for how to apply skins, and I found an alternate control scheme to the Batmobile that I would have loved to have known about last week.
For the first 30 hours you played it?
Yes, because what is awkward to me is I play a lot of racing games and a lot of car games, and I have gotten used to right trigger gas, left trigger brake / reverse. But it's back to the old school style of, square or X or whatever console you want to do for the brake. And I would just go into tank mode randomly. I'd be like, oh, yeah, I didn't mean to do that. But like flying 100 miles an hour through Gotham City and go into tank mode and slam into a building.
Well, you braked.
So, and it has that alternate scheme, and where to me it was more natural, but at the same time, I'm never going to be able to use it because I've played this game for a week straight, and I have gotten so used to the Batmobile controls now, like you with Halo and the inverted controls.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I'm still using inverted controls like 15 years after Halo 1. It's pretty sad, but yeah. So, we'll just do kind of final thoughts before we hit the spoilers. I fucking love the game. I think it is the best of the four in that I thought it was the best combination of storyline quality, which I thought probably the highest storyline quality they've gotten is Origins.
It's the best Batman movie I've ever seen.
And the best combination of story and gameplay. Yeah. Because to me, before this one, the most fun of them was City to play, just because I thought the gameplay was most fun. And then the best story was Origins. A lot of people hated Origins because it was broken in a lot of ways.
It wasn't Unity level broken, but it was broken. It actually worked.
The story in Origins was great.
Any chance I get on Unity, I'm taking it.
Yeah. I mean, why wouldn't you? Fuck that game. And so I thought it was the best of the four. Would you say it was the same?
Oh yeah, easily.
I mean, it just, and like you were saying, like,
I mean, I feel like if you took all the fun, I had a blast playing all of them. I feel like if you took all the fun of the other three games, put them together, it still doesn't match this one.
It was, and like you were saying, like, I actually felt like I was in a movie.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing with games is I like video games. And I love movies and television shows. So when I'm playing a game and I forget I'm playing a game and I feel like I'm in a movie, that's my favorite type of game and why I love Last of Us so much. Is because I forget I'm playing.
You can just zone out, zone into the game.
I totally zone out and feel like I'm a part of the movie going on.
Yeah.
And that is exactly what Arkham Knight is. And it's so, and they don't really have cinematics because it's all in game. And which is crazy too, because they don't have cinematics, still feels totally like a freaking movie. It's just so impressive. It's like, well, bravo, tip of the hat, Rocksteady. Such an awesome way to go out on. You know. It's unfortunate that no one with a PC can play it. But everyone on Xbox One and PS4, it worked beautifully.
Yeah.
And it was just, it was the most fun I think I've had playing a video game since I was a kid. Like the first time you get the Batmobile, I was geeking out so bad.
And I was kind of disappointed in the design of the Batmobile, but I totally am over that now.
Oh, really? What about the design didn't you like? I always liked because it was like half Tumbler, half Burtonmobile.
If you've ever played Gran Turismo, there's a Pagani race car in that to me it looks identical to it.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've never been a racing game guy.
I just I don't know. To me, at first, it doesn't originally look Batman-esque, like what I think of a Batman vehicle to look like. But after you get enough hours into the game and you start paying attention to the intricate detail, like when you hit the left trigger and it just like opens up into the tank mode and stuff.
So much fun.
Like it's designed really well, actually, and I'd take back everything I had said about it before.
Yeah,
it's
very talk shit
Batman.
About Arkham Knight, asshole. But yeah, that's the end of our spoiler-free territory of this review. So if you haven't finished or played the game at all, you're going to want to stop the recording right now.
Yeah, so if you're stopping now, thanks for listening. Please come back. And enjoy the hell out of the game. Do not talk to your buddies about it that are currently playing it, because as we found out, apparently events happen at random in the game, side mission wise. And there were times I'd be like, "Oh, dude, it was so cool when this happened. I haven't seen that yet. Where did that happen? Over here. That didn't happen for me." And then it happened later. So apparently events happen at random. So your experience may be different from your buddies. So that being said, let's spoil the fuck out of this game, dude.
Let's indeed. And the first thing is, how freaking awesome was it that they were able to keep Mark Hamill's involvement a secret?
How fucking awesome was it that we kept Mark Hamill's involvement a secret in that first half of it?
Yeah, I'm actually, I don't think I've ever been impressed by us recording.
We have him as the second name listed under Kevin Conroy.
Yeah, I was about to spoil it. We were like, this spoiler-free section.
Why did we even put it up there?
We don't fucking think when we playing this shit. But, oh my god. Mark Hamill had been on record. I'm done. That was my last performance in City. You know, he was being kind of sentimental about it. He totally sold it. And then the reveal.
Oh my god!
Oh my! I shat myself so bad because you're carrying, and it's in the freaking musical cues, man.
Yes.
You know, they play it towards the end of the game too. The piano, the slow piano, a theme they have where it's getting sentimental throughout the storyline. They cue in that. Mm-hmm. That's playing. You know, you think you're literally about to die because he's lowering the blast radius of the first Scarecrow bomb type thing. So you're carrying this canister all slow. It's playing that fucking slow music. Joker with a gun in your fucking face as you turn around.
And the music just, like Hans Zimmer level, just through the roof.
And I really wish I had...
Because, like you said, music cues, there are no musical cues before any of the jump scares in this.
Yeah. I really wish I was recording myself a few moments in this game because...
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like, what?
Yeah, you know, once you changed pants after a shower and came back and...
You had to do that a few times, you know, you get used to it. But, like, how the hell did they keep that a secret? In the world of Twitter.
Yeah.
Blew my mind.
I wonder how secret it was for people, because you know there's points in the game that are key, like the reveal of the Arkham Knight's identity and everything, that it says in the upper left corner that recording of this is prohibited, and your PS4 or your Xbox One stops recording right there. Mm. But it didn't do that in that scene. The first time I ever saw that was the Arkham Knight reveal, and it was so genius. So I wonder how many people
were in the loop.
Yeah, or in the loop now, like on Twitter and everything.
Yeah, it's interesting. And how genius was it, just the way they incorporated Joker into the game?
Oh, man.
Because what happened was, you know, he dies at the end of City.
Yeah.
And
they confirm that for you at the beginning of this game in the worst way possible.
Yeah, you have to push the button to cremate the Joker.
And you get the most gruesome angle of ever. You're looking straight down on his face. While he's smiling, he's dead. And the flesh and everything just starts melting away.
Yeah, and, you know, they confirm he's freaking dead. He's not coming back. But since it's the Scarecrow, and, you know... Bruce has been hit by the fear toxin
and he was poisoned by Joker in Arkham City. That was actually a carryover of the plot line from Arkham City.
Yeah, that's right. He's one of the remaining carriers of the Joker venom blood, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So when he gets hit,
he's a were-Joker.
Well, were-Joker appears. So when he gets hit by the fear toxin, it amplifies the Joker so much to where
he can see him.
Yeah, he's walking around, and the Joker will pop up all throughout the game just to talk shit to you. Yep. And he has the greatest fucking lines throughout the game.
And it is... Another thing that's really amazing about it is, since it's not really the Joker, it's the way Batman sees the Joker.
And he's even more disturbed and more of an asshole than he normally was.
But I asked you earlier, just so that I don't butcher it, what is the line he says one of the lines he says when you die, one of the many?
Oh, you did about as well as the Flying Graysons on Take Your Kid to Work Day.
Like, you dropped like the Flying Graysons on Take Your Kid to Work Day or something like that.
It's just like he has so many lines where it's just like, God damn, man, that was cold even for your standards. But Mark Hamill was amazing.
Yes, he
was.
It
might even be his best Joker performance too.
Easily. I was already thinking that, hands down, his best Joker performance. And that guy owns the Joker as much as Kevin Conroy owns Batman, you know? So.
Yeah, when you ask...
Troy Baker's trying to take that mantle.
Yeah.
And he's doing a damn good job of it.
He's doing as best a job as anyone could possibly try to imitate him. But
I feel like Mark Hamill played Origins and was like, "Oh yeah, tough guy, you want to go? I'll be back as a Joker."
Like he didn't want to come back until he saw him do his impression, and he was just like, "Oh no, this will not stand."
Oh son, there's no way. So yeah,
it was just incredible. The freaking there was a lot of concern over the writing. Because this was the first one not written by Paul Dini, one of the all-time great Batman writers, created Harley Quinn, created Mr. Freeze the way we all know him now, helped create Batman Beyond.
Yeah.
I told you before off mic, I think he's done the most for Batman from one person's perspective since Bill Finger in the 40s.
More or less, if you're a child of the late 80s, early 90s, the way you think of Batman was Paul Dini's reimagining. Paul Dini and Kevin Conroy, their work, that's what you're most likely thinking of when you think of Batman.
Yeah, it's like if you ask most people if they pick up a Batman comic book, the Batman voice in their brain is Kevin Conroy and the Joker voice is Mark Hamill's.
Yeah.
Because they are so synonymous with those characters.
And when, if I think of the way Batman should act or the way he should be or how certain villains act, or if I think of, like you said, Mr. Freeze was a Z-list villain before Paul Dini, when I think of things like that, everything I think of is Paul Dini's Batman. And he wrote Asylum and City, right?
Yeah, he wrote both of them. Those are the first two. So
this is the first Rocksteady one that he didn't write, because he wasn't involved in Origins.
No, that was all the...
Yeah,
some of the writers for Arkham Knight might have been some people to write Origins. I'm not sure. I haven't looked that much into detail about it, but whoever they were, all the dialogue.
Rocksteady was all I needed to know.
All the dialogue was great. All those Joker lines were fantastic. We were talking about, Kevin Conroy was great, but he has to have great lines to say.
Yeah,
and it was, just that, man. And how hard is it to not only be able to? Okay,
I'm pretty sure Kevin Conroy could read me the phone book in the Batman voice.
I just wanted to record my voicemail.
And Mark Hamill can read me, a Chinese takeout menu or something in the Joker voice, and I'm good.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about their delivery at all. In fact, I want to hear Mark Hamill just picking up shit and reading it. Whatever's in front of him.
Just read Shakespeare in the Joker voice.
That should be a podcast of his.
I'd just listen to it. Shit.
Yeah, just like him pick up The Martian and read it the way the Joker would. Something.
Yeah, and one of the biggest plot lines it had going for it was, who is the Arkham Knight?
Yeah.
And
I fucking called it.
Well,
half the world did too.
Probably 3/4 the world did, because probably my only complaint about the game is that 3/4 the world did call the Arkham Knight reveal because it is the most obvious choice, which is a shame, because it's not really Rocksteady's fault, because what happened was early development, they were getting interviewed and they were basically kind of being grilled about, who is the Arkham Knight, and they started, throwing out guesses, and what they had to do, which they had to do it, was they said, this is an original villain.
Which, technically speaking,
it is, but when you get grilled like that, and you come out, and one of your main...
Well, I mean, you said it best. They picked the world's first guess.
Yeah.
You said that off mic when we were talking about it in 01. When you told me I had an hour left of gameplay, and 3 hours later, I was just finishing.
Well, if you would quit fucking dying.
I wanted to see what Joker would say.
I meant to do that. But yeah... Which, it's one of those things to where the way that they did it works beautifully in the story. I couldn't help but be let down, because if they could have been able to pull off a mindfuck for his reveal, it would have been, oh my god, even better. But it didn't hurt the game, honestly.
Yeah.
I was a little let down. I don't know how you reacted to it. Were you a little let down?
It was awkward because you had finished before me. And when I said, I think it's this person, which we're in the spoiler part, I don't know why we keep dancing around it. But I said, I think it's this person, and then you're like, well, and tried to throw me off the trail of it. So when it happened, half of me was like, oh, fucking really? And then the other half was, I told you, Jeff, I knew it. I was right all along. So.
And they kind of go out of their way to set up the reveal, which gives away the reveal a little bit, which maybe kind of helped, honestly, with looking back on it, to where I was more prepared to be let down.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, you guys are doing that, aren't you? Because we should just say, because it's
I was going to say, should we just go ahead and say it?
It was what it is it's not quote unquote,
because there's something I want after we do this, something I want to bring up that blew my mind.
It's not
awesome.
A complete original character, but what it is a reimagining of the Red Hood. Yes. And it's actually a better representation of the Red Hood reveal than what happened in the original story.
Yeah.
But since, we were billed as this original thing, that you couldn't kind of help but be let down a little bit that it wasn't something new. But the way they did it was brilliant.
Oh yeah. you walk around for a little bit, and there's this one part of the story you start getting Jason Todd flashbacks, and that's when you're kind of like, eh. And then, it's revealed that it is Jason Todd. And what I wanted to say, that I wanted to bring up that was awesome, was his helmet. Right after he's headbutted, and it kind of shatters the Arkham Knight helmet, and you find out it's a 2-part helmet, that Batman-looking one is a cover, and he takes it off so he can see, and he has the fucking iconic metal-ish Red Hood helmet on after that. Because that was the inside lining to the Arkham Knight helmet. And that is just brilliant.
And once
you know that, and you look at his suit design, his costume design, it looks like the fucking Red Hood with a Batman helmet.
And they also actually made, I just now, thought of this, going into it deeper, but it's always been kind of odd why, because you are familiar that before the Joker was the Joker, he was the Red Hood, right?
Yes.
So, why the hell in the original storyline would he name himself after the Joker again? At this storyline, he's full-on brainwashed and tortured by him and turned into
if you don't
Red
know
Hood.
The original storyline, his vendetta is against the Joker, not Batman.
And it makes a lot more sense in this storyline for him to kind of become the Red Hood persona and call himself that because he was brainwashed.
Yeah, over a year of being tortured and brainwashed and beaten with a fucking crowbar. That was gruesome. Even though you didn't see it, you heard it.
And the freaking the idea that Batman looks all over creation for Jason, and he was in Arkham the whole time, the last place he would think to look.
Yeah.
It's very, very, they don't spend a whole lot of time speaking about it in the game, but the symbols of that is pretty fucked up.
Yeah,
for Batman, because you can imagine what he's thinking when he learns that,
like us, John Bernthal just slaps his forehead.
Yeah, and we had another note. There were quite a few Oracle mindfucks going on throughout the game. When you added the note, which specific one did you want to talk about first?
Again, this is the spoiler cast part of it, so we're assuming you have already beaten it or just don't give a shit about the spoilers. When she died, they fucking got me. Like,
Beautifully shot.
I was ready to just bawl. And it wasn't until today, I finished this tonight. Today at work, I was like, oh man, what if it was just, the Scarecrow, Fear Toxin, and Joker?
You start Game of Thronesing it? You're like,
yeah.
He's got this, and this that can happen.
There has to be a way that she survives.
There's a way, but man, I don't know if they're going to do it.
It's about 50-50.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just like, yeah, God, I hope she is, but you know what? Since it is them going out, they probably just fucking killed her. I mean,
yeah, because it's Rocksteady's send-off.
They don't have to deal with any of the fallout in another game afterwards. They can do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, they are GTFO after that.
It's not like they killed Robin, or Commissioner Gordon, which for a minute there, I really thought they were going to. And I was just thinking, no, man, she's gone. And then tonight when I was playing it and Scarecrow's men wheel her out in the wheelchair, I was just like, oh my God, I was right, but I didn't know it. They're like, bravo on Rocksteady, that was done. Because you suspect it, but at the same time, you don't fucking know.
And you aren't suspecting
there's so much that you know, but you don't know because you can't be sure because of the fear toxin. You can't tell what you're seeing, how much of it is fear toxin, how much it isn't.
And they do that a lot throughout the game.
Especially with Batman's state of mind. With Joker walking around inside his head and everything. You just... The entire game, you're just like, bleh.
Yeah, it's so cool. Like, there's so many times where they fake you out to where you think, what you're seeing is actually happening. No, it's all in his head. They fake you out so many times to where you're just like you were saying, like, I don't know what to think. Everything's fake. Everything's real. I don't know.
It's like, I'm just as confused as Batman at this point.
Yeah, which we should probably get into now. Probably the coolest part of the game, you're not even playing Batman, and that is at the end of the game.
Oh man,
when Batman is captured by Scarecrow and you go full on into Batman psyche.
If you could see the Joker grin I have on my face right now, because Jeff was sitting next to me watching me play so we could finally record this episode, and when I got into first-person Joker mode with a gun, that starts out third person, but still, when I got that, I'm looking over his shoulder like he do Batman, he's got a gun, I'm just walking around fucking blowing away Two-Face and Penguin and stuff, I'm just like, oh my god, I want a whole game of this. I could play an entire game. Imagine the multiplayer on that.
Oh, it'd be so much fun.
I could play an entire game.
Like you have like one team that's Two-Face, the other team that's Joker.
Yeah.
Like they could do a whole lot of fun stuff with that.
And then once you, I think it was Two-Face. Once you blow away Two-Face and he hits the ground and turns into Commissioner Gordon, and then you're like, oh shit, is this really happening? Am I Batman walking around killing everybody?
That was my first thought too, which would have been so fucked up if he killed like...
But you don't know.
Yeah,
because
you don't know.
You can't tell what's real and not, the way they've written it. And then after that, you go into first-person Joker with a gun, and it's literally a first-person shooter as the Joker. And I was like, oh my god, I am shooting everything.
Yeah, what leads to it is the Scarecrow gives you a full-on dose, and they've been telling Bruce throughout the game that like if you get any more around the fear toxin, you know, you're gonna flip out because you're just on the verge. You're on the verge for a really long time.
Yeah.
And when he gets that last full dose, his psyche snaps into full Joker mode. So when he goes into his psyche, it's basically you are the Joker at that point. You know, he has won the battle for Bruce Wayne's mind.
Yeah.
So when you're walking around, you're the Joker walking around inside Bruce's mind, and it's so symbolic because the Joker's greatest fear is being forgotten.
Yeah.
That's all you're walking around seeing is, you know, what's the funny news article where it's like, Joker dies, nobody cares. And, you know, he's walking around, he goes to his own wake, and the only person there is Harley. You know, she's sobbing, but there's no one else there. He's like, you know, would you forget to send out the invitations? You know, and you start walking around, and then
I know what you're up to, Bruce.
And it's so freaking cool because you're talking about that's, you know, it's the best Batman movie we've seen. And that shit you were saying as you were playing it, it is so creative. Like they didn't have to do that.
Dude.
They totally easily could not have included any of those scenes, but it was so freaking brilliant.
They went all out on this.
And it's such a geek out moment when you get past the Bruce Wayne weeping angels, you know, the Batman weeping angels. And
that was the first thing I said, and I remember you going, that was my first thought too.
And because what happens is you see Batman get to beat the Joker one more time, and it's actually kind of like for the fight for, you know, Batman's soul almost.
Yeah.
And it's just so freaking cool. It was such a brilliant storyline, and like we were saying, like they didn't have to do any of that. They could have had it just to be Arkham.
Yeah.
And it was almost a little out of left field because they'd never done that before.
I mean, I'm not saying they were, but at the same time, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, and in a weird way, kind of Origins too, were kind of cookie cutter. And then you get to Arkham Knight, and it just blows your mind.
Yeah, it was like they pulled out all the stops, like all of those cool ideas they had before. You know, like what if we do this? What if we do this? They put it all aside, and like we're going to go out with all of that.
Yeah,
because when you see him do the I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman, like yes, and that is a fucking way you go out on a Batman story, you know, a Batman trilogy, fucking Rises. That's how you end the Batman
That's how it's
trilogy.
done, Nolan.
That's how you do it, and man, it's fucking brilliant, man.
And how awesome is the symbology of Bruce Wayne's psyche, if it is put into a physical form, was Arkham Asylum. Because that whole time that you're the Joker walking around blowing shit up, like, when it starts out as the Joker, like, you can't even really tell where he is. It's kind of obscure where he is. It's almost like stereotypical, like, mobster movie Chinatown looking. And but when he steps through the doors to go inside, all of a sudden it turns to Arkham Asylum. And that's when he starts seeing, like, the Batman weeping angel statues and stuff like that. And he's just walking around like, I know what you're trying to do, Bruce. And Joker dies, no one cares. Headlines on the newspapers and stuff. And that's when he stepped into, basically Bruce Wayne's psyche out of his own, and Bruce Wayne is trying to fight him and come back. And it's Arkham Asylum is what physical form of his psyche takes. I mean, the symbolism in that is Paul Dini level, even though he's not involved.
It was so good.
Oh my god, everything about this game was totally cool. And the Joker mobile.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
That is the giant.
It was fucking creepy and fucking hilarious.
And they pull out so many comic references and weave them all together beautifully. It was just well done, Rocksteady.
Bravo!
I'm so freaking curious what they're going to do next, because there's a lot of rumors going around of Superman, Justice League. What can they do? Because at this point, all
the Lex Luthor Easter eggs, and if you know much about their games, or if you just do much research at all, you find out real quick that Rocksteady has a history of their final game and something putting Easter eggs into what their next project is.
Oh yeah.
And we had so many, like the Lex Luthor answering machine messages. There's billboards for Lex Luthor all over town. There's a division of LexCorp. There's a LexCorp building that some of the militiamen are on top of. There's so many Easter eggs to Superman.
Which I'm curious, do you just do Superman, or do you just go do Justice League? Because they made,
I feel like
they went out of their way to do dual character controls.
Yes.
So that's a little bit of a hint of, we're testing this kind of to see how this works for this.
And I almost wonder, the Lex Luthor stuff, while in your face, is still kind of subtle. But I almost wonder how much of a future project Easter egg the whole Joker third and first person shooter stuff was.
That's a good point too.
If that could be a trial run for something? I say a first person rendition of Suicide Squad, the dual character control.
Oh, do you give me a first person Deathstroke game? I'm all over that, man. Yeah, it's. Well, we were talking about before though. Whatever the hell they do, I'm going to be there and I'm going to be buying that game first day I can, because they have lifelong fan after those 3 Batman games they did.
Oh my god.
Fucking incredible, man.
Again, just bravo, Rocksteady. This was
a masterpiece, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
They even, what we talked about earlier, they even took the Red Hood storyline, which is one of my favorite storylines, and made it better.
Yeah.
Made it work.
They elevated it.
Yeah, they elevated it. They tweaked it. Made a little more sense. Made it even a little more personal.
And because it's in a video game format, a comic book, you're reading it, you're there, but you're still kind of an observer. A movie, it's condensed. But in a video game format, you are the characters that you're playing as. You are personally involved, so you start to feel it personally. You have all the feels for Jason Todd during those flashbacks. When he reveals himself as the Arkham Knight, you feel the pain that Batman is feeling over it, because you went through everything, and it was subtle at the beginning of the game, and then it was in your face. And the way that they did it, the way everything was interwoven, it touched a personal note for you because of the format that they delivered the story in. And
their tagline, "Be the Batman," was never more appropriate than this game, because I forgot I was playing a video game and I thought I was Batman for about the 30 hours or whatever.
I saw you running around town leaping off of rooftops, man. I saw you did not nail any of the landings.
No, I probably need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, that bone sticking on your leg's not looking too good anymore.
Yeah, probably never going to get rid of the
But
one.
Now that we're in spoiler territory and we still have 3 minutes before we hit the hour-and-a-half mark, can we just go back to the graphics for a second? When the cloudburst went off, that was fucking mind-blowing, dude.
The amount of shit that they can put on screen at one time now is incredible. The first time you open up the game, this is beyond the fish swim away from you graphics that everyone's been so proud of for so long. That was in Nintendo 64. They're so obsessed with showing that at E3. They have a fish obsession at E3. I don't know why. But the first time that you pop in and you're first playing as Batman and you just have the cityscape in front of you.
Oh god!
There's just so many crazy moments with their graphics. And what I also like to mention is, if you go back to look at the PS3 and Xbox 360 gen and compare the graphic fidelity of the early games to the end.
We were looking at some of the skins earlier on YouTube from Arkham City, and we're just like, oh painful. My god, this was cutting edge?
But when you look back at the early PS3 and Xbox 360 games early in that gen compared to The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And then just compare the two. They didn't even know what they're doing with the hardware yet with Arkham Knight. That was being developed when the PS4 hadn't even come out yet.
Yeah.
So when we get 5 or 6 years into this gen, think of a Batman game then.
Yeah.
Like, you're probably going to end up eventually be in the Batwing flying around doing shit, you know?
Dude, I cannot wait for that day.
Yeah. It was already freaking cool enough to have the Batmobile, but if you can control the Batwing, you know, when you get bored of that, pop out the Batmobile, you know, like, you can do freaking anything now.
Or, like, the going theory for Batman v Superman with the Batmobile and the way it's kind of designed, that it looks sexy and sleek, but it has that kind of weird wing design on top. People were thinking that it breaks off into the Batwing, or at least some rendition of, that it's like tank and airplane and car all at once. I mean, they could do something like that. You know, I mean, it could be amazing.
Yeah, or if not full on Batwing, make it like a hovercraft type thing.
Like Poison Ivy's quote unquote death, because I mean, she's a plant. She probably left a seed behind somewhere.
Groot.
Yeah, she's gonna be a dancing baby Groot. But when she just kind of blows away as the dandelion seeds floating in the air all over Gotham, like, it's just the graphics in this are still blowing my mind.
And I mean, it's simple shit too. Like, the rainwater puddles on the ground, will make you stop and then look at the ground just to like, holy fuck, this is gorgeous.
I mean, this is better than real life.
Well, you're Batman, of course it's better than real life. All right, well, I think that's actually going to be a wrap up to our Arkham Knight review. And if you are still listening to this and you haven't played the game, for the love of God, go pay Rocksteady your $60 and play the shit out of that game.
For the love of God, why did you listen to the spoiler half if you haven't? But bravo, Rocksteady. A solid 12 out of 10 on that. Not even, I was going to say 11, but
12 out of 10 expletives.
It was better than 11 out of 10. So.
So I'm curious what they do next. Whatever it is, I'll be there. And where Batman goes from now.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really know for sure yet.
It was the end game Batman story that everyone wanted to. We didn't even touch on the endings.
Yeah, we kind of dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, we didn't even touch it. Should we back up and
we're at 131. We'll spend 4 minutes to get 135 even. We'll
4 minutes turns into 20.
Well, now that you're fucking talking like that. But yeah, okay. Some of the endings, the way that the endings work is after you beat the game, depending on how many of the side missions you've completed, you can unlock Nightfall Protocol.
Just YouTube them.
And you just YouTube them, yes. They're about 2 or 3 minutes long each, and they're not worth getting all those
If you're going for that platinum trophy or whatever the fuck the 100% trophies are, then don't YouTube them, because you're going to get them eventually, but
you have to have done all the Riddler stuff to get the final video, which, fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that shit.
I love those games. Fuck that. Not doing it. No. 260 trophies. Go fuck yourself.
I'll do the Riddler missions. Trophies, go fuck yourselves. Yeah. You go get the trophies yourself. I'll send Robin. I'm not... Oh, that is one thing before we jump in. Just 2 seconds on.
Son of a bitch.
I know, here it goes, right? The very Assassin's Creed Brotherhood with the send Robin in for takedown and some of the Predator maps.
Very cool.
That was very, very cool. And then next thing you know, you are Robin, because it switches you to Robin in that moment.
You call on Batman to do the next one.
Yeah,
very freaking cool.
That was very cool. But yeah, so you have what was it, Nightfall Protocol?
Yeah, the incomplete.
You have incomplete. So the incomplete. The dialogue is slightly different between the two, and it cuts off at a certain point. And then the complete was fucking cool, but at the same time, another reason to YouTube it is if you go through the heartache and the sheer pain in your head and in your ass to get these Riddler trophies
for 3 months. Yeah,
for 3 months to get an obscure what the fuck ending.
Yeah, well, real briefly, the incomplete ending is pretty much Bruce going back to the mansion, talking to Alfred for a second, and then detonating the mansion. And then that is, to lead the public to think Bruce Wayne / Batman is now dead.
That's how you fake Batman's death, Nolan.
Man, we really gotta do a commentary on that movie. Just constant bitching.
You want to hear expletives? I'll be going full gear.
So, in the incomplete ending is just that, pretty much. That's the way it ends. Is they go back to the beginning with Gordon. You know, this is how the Batman died. That's what the reference was with that intro dialogue. And the complete ending is what Ron was talking about, how it goes full ambiguity, and it shows Gordon, who is now the mayor of Gotham City. That's a little thing that you see in the background. They have a bunch of posters for it. He has a little bit of dialogue with Bruce at the beginning of it before he goes off to detonate the mansion. And it shows the same mansion detonation sequence, but then they follow it up with a little like epilogue almost.
Yes.
And in the epilogue,
it's
shows
really unclear on how long after the events of Arkham Knight.
Maybe a year or two, because it has to be enough time for him to become mayor, so it's at least a decent chunk of time. But what's ambiguous about it is it shows a family very, very reminiscent of Bruce's family. It's a dad.
Reminiscent. It's the same goddamn thing.
It's a dad, a mom with a pearl necklace on, and their
If
child.
you're in Gotham, do not wear pearls.
Well, first of all, just don't be in Gotham. That's
Don't be in Gotham,
problem.
but if you have to be, make sure you're not anywhere near pearls or wearing pearls. Just stay away. There's always a Joe Chill around the corner wanting your damn pearls.
So they're exiting, I believe, is it a theater as well that they're leaving? There's something they're leaving. And they go into...
It's the same damn street corner that flashback happens in on the fear toxins.
It's the same street corner?
Yeah, same theater, same everything.
And they are getting robbed by two thugs. And the thugs are stopped by what you don't see, and you assume it's just going to be Batman again. But they look up and they're like, Batman said we're not afraid of you. And what you just see is this shadowy Batman-style silhouette.
Yeah, smacky. Smoky and foggy, very obscured. He looks like a ghost.
Yeah.
It really rings Phantasm, is what it really rings.
And what happens is it turns into what looks like one of the reactions the people have in the game to the fear toxin. Is he becomes almost like elemental. There's the fiery surroundings around him, and that jumps at the screen at you. It's like shadowy bat demon, and that's all you see. So you have no idea.
That's what you gather all those Riddler trophies for.
Yeah, I would be so freaking mad, but with that ending, you don't know who the hell's Batman. Is it Batman? Are they using fear toxin? You don't know jack shit.
Yeah.
And it's not Rocksteady anymore.
You just know that there's a smacky Batman out there.
So like you said earlier, Rocksteady doesn't have to deal with this at all.
Yeah.
So the next company is like,
what the fuck are we supposed to do with this?
What are we doing? Because there will be Batman games, for damn sure. They might go back to the Origins timeline, so they don't have to...
Here's the thing, too. Rocksteady, they said that they're not doing any more of the Arkham Knight series. They never said anything no more with Batman. So that leaves Justice League or whatever they want to do.
Oh, well, yeah. It's just no more only Batman games, pretty much. So, yeah, it'll either be a new character, it'll be part of the Justice League if we see more Batman.
All new original character?
But, he's got a blue cape instead of a black cape now. But, yeah, I don't know what the hell they're doing with more Batman games. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they just go back to the full Origins timeline so they don't have to worry about what the hell that all was or who the hell Batman is. But yeah, we've gone past our hour and 35 that we said we would. So is there anything else you want to touch up on before we...
before we actually end it?
Yeah, before we actually end it.
I don't know. I'm curious where Origins is going to go.
With that timeline?
Yeah, because we got... their take on the first time he met the Joker, and then we got Rocksteady's ending to Batman at all. That was the best end all for Batman you're ever going to see, in my opinion. Like, everything about this game is gold. We cannot talk this game up enough. But I really want to know what their next project is, and it's gonna be a little bit before we ever hear anything, as I guarantee you they're still even writing it, if they've even started that process yet.
What I think the next thing we'll see is Arkham Origins 2, something like that.
Right.
I think they're more likely to continue that.
I think we're gonna get one, maybe even two games out of the Origins people before we ever hear anything from Rocksteady again on this.
Yeah, I really am so curious because if they announce we're doing Justice League with that dual character control shit, oh wow, you can't sign me up quick enough. But yeah. Seriously,
Rocksteady, give me an entire game of first-person Joker shoot 'em up, please.
That would be so great. Yeah, did you do like the different factions with the other like Two-Face Penguins?
Oh yeah,
it would be so much fun. But yeah, we were originally going to do an hour, and then it was an hour and 10 minutes. It was an hour and a half. Now it's an hour and 40. But we're actually going to sign off now.
We're going to sign off and go home. Go to bed.
Go to bed. If you would like to follow us more, you can check us out on Twitter at TWBE Podcasts, or check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/TWBE Podcast. I'm Jeff.
I'm Ron.
And we will see you next time.